We get $1,000 a month per room.
Wow.
Per room. But now you guys are helping other people, building a community behind it as well, which, I think that it's fun to make money, but it's fun to watch other people make money.
It's a whole other bucket.
I don't have confidence in the stock market any longer. I don't have confidence in, investing in ideas any longer. Because ideas are a dime a dozen. Give me a house.
It's been proven,
some
right?
cash flow.
It's been proven for decades and decades that it goes up in value over time.
It's not going anywhere.
Recently looked at what that place rents for, and it's $5,600 a month.
Wow.
Wow.
And this wasn't the Taj Mahal.
Welcome to the Investor Mel and Dave show. We have a very special guest that we actually met at our mastermind that we're on.
Yeah, Jamil is awesome. He's actually originally from Canada, moved to the US. So we interviewed him. He's actually in his home in LA today. He's a wholesaler. He's got a show on A&E, and he's got a new way of investing. So make sure to stay right to the end to catch how he's investing in this new way of doing it.
And if you don't know who we are yet, I'm Mel.
I'm Dave.
And we're the Investor Couple. And we purchased over 250 units in 5 countries.
Canada, US, Costa Rica, Mexico, and Dominican Republic.
And if you love real estate like we do, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that bell because we release investing focused videos every single week. Now let's get started.
Welcome to the show, Jamil.
Hello.
Yeah, welcome to our show. We're so happy to be able to introduce you to our audience. But before we dive in today, which I'm super pumped about, do you want to let people know a little bit about you?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Jamil Damji. I am, as you guys can see, a fan of Canada, not only because I'm a Canadian citizen. I started my real estate journey in Calgary, Alberta. So I'm a wholesaler. If you guys are familiar with the term wholesaling, it's where we find undervalued opportunities and get contractual control of those opportunities and then sell those contracts to other investors and make a little fee. That business model has grown into a national franchised business where I now have over 118 operating franchises in the United States that do this at volume. And we've become the largest wholesaler in the country. Very blessed to have stumbled into this business model, which I stumbled into in Calgary, Alberta. So I learned how to wholesale from a real estate attorney in Calgary and was able to bring that over here to the United States and turn it into, one of the most incredible opportunities and lifestyles that I could ever hope to have. And so I'm happy to be connecting with my fellow Canucks. Happy to, discuss all things real estate and things that I'm doing here in this country specifically. And if there's any questions or things that I can do to be of assistance, I'm always happy to help.
Oh, that's fantastic. We're super excited that you're on our show because, of course, our members, we're all about real estate investing and finding deals. And I often talk on our show about the more deals you look at, statistically speaking, the better because you get the best one. So I know we've been speaking over the past few months and we're in a mastermind together. And I'm so happy that you're here. Now, I guess, how are you deciding? You're a wholesaler, you have tons of success. Where are you deciding where to invest?
So for me, it's general ease. Right. So I look at the United States as two specific types of markets. You've got high appreciation, high demand markets. You've got low appreciation, low demand markets. High appreciation, high demand markets, you get appreciation, very little cash flow. Low appreciation, low demand markets, you get lots of cash flow, low appreciation. Right. And so first, you got to look at the objective. What do you want? Are you wanting cash flow? Are you wanting depreciation? Are you looking to offset income? And how involved do you want to be, right? Do you want to be involved in the management? Do you want to be able to touch your property and see it all the time and make sure things are good? Those are, for me, the most important aspects of, what I'm going to get involved in. Now, I invest virtually and I do things out of state. I primarily live in Phoenix, Arizona, but I also have a residence here in Los Angeles where I'm joining you guys from today. And because of my comfort, I specifically like to buy in Arizona, LA, which I'm starting to, divest from a little bit right now. But if I find a great deal, I'll still do it. And Florida right now is, one of my really, really, really incredible markets just for appreciation, demand, and at some points cash flow if you just take out the insurance aspect from the equation. But so that's what I'm primarily looking at. Now, I have recently started getting involved in a different type of rental opportunity, which is co-living. And I don't know if they necessarily are doing that in Canada yet, but we've been buying single family homes in Phoenix, Arizona, and converting these, 2,000 square foot footprints from 3-bed, 2 baths to like 6 beds, 6 baths, 7 beds, 7 baths. Because we're not doing major additions, just internal walls, we can get over-the-counter permits a lot of the time. And so the permitting process and the hold times aren't significantly oppressive. And we've got 99% occupancy in that type of living structure here in the United States, or especially specifically in the market that I'm in Phoenix. But the partner that I work with, PadSplit, they are experiencing that type of volume or that type of low vacancy all across the country, wherever they have their platform working. Now, interestingly enough, if you look at where interest rates are right now, 6% or greater, especially if you're looking at commercial, you might even be at, 6.5, 7. A buy and hold rental right now is not cash flowing, right? It's just not going to really do, unless you're putting a significant amount of money down, you're going to have a hard time cash flowing that property. Fix and flips, which I do, they can get a little bit dicey because once you open up walls, you're like, oh my goodness, this is going to be another $40,000 more than what I had expected. And your profit margin starts to get eaten up. And then you're working for 6 months just to break even. And that's happened to me many times, right? So I've won a lot in fix and flips. I've lost in fix and flips. It's not everything that you see on my TV show, which, by the way, I didn't mention. I have a television show on A&E where we flip houses. I would highly recommend caution in watching stuff like that. Remember, it's entertainment. Reality is different from entertainment. So don't just go out and start flipping houses because you see people on TV do it. It's a completely different world. But right now, our best investments are these co-living houses. Back to that. So we take, for instance, I'll give you an example of one we just completed. I have a property in Phoenix, Arizona. It's in a C neighborhood, close to public transportation, great bones, lots and lots and lots of demand there for regular rentals, but also it houses a lot of the working poor. And if you've been paying attention to homelessness in the United States, which I know is just as rampant in Canada, but because the population discrepancy doesn't let you see it, it's not, you still see the homelessness. And, I go to Calgary and I'm in downtown and I see the homeless people and I'm like, okay, they're here. But when you're in places like Phoenix and Los Angeles, there's entire cities of homeless people. One of the craziest things I've ever seen happen in such a short amount of time, just this like accelerated growth of homelessness. And, when you see that, you come to realize this has to be more than a mental health issue. This has to be more than an addiction issue. This is a societal issue because of unaffordable housing and lack of inventory. And when you digest that and you understand that you, as a real estate investor, which I am, that I'm a part of the problem, right? Because I'm taking inventory off the market and I'm renovating it and I'm forcing appreciation on it. And now the person who was renting the house that I bought can't afford to rent in that neighborhood any longer. And they're sure as hell not going to be able to buy there at the price that I'm selling it at. What do you do? So what I've seen happen here in the United States recently is an adoption of a living style very similar to what you see in Europe, which is co-living. Mm-hmm. And you've got multiple families living in a single family house. So let's go back to this house I bought in the C neighborhood.
Hey, stop the video for a second. I wanted to talk to you about a turnkey income property provider that Mel and I have purchased properties for. Now listen up. If you are looking for a income property, then you don't have the time for it. I have a solution for you that I have invested in myself. They will find the property for you, they will renovate it for you, they will give you a turnkey product, and they will get tenants in there for you after screening it and manage the property. Does this sound too good to be true? It is not. Click the link below, go check out this exclusive list, find your next turnkey income property, and book your free call with them so they can go through all the benefits of what they provide. And you'll be investing in properties just like Mel and I. Okay, enough excitement about this. Let's get back to the episode.
It was a 3-bed, 2-bath. We converted it into a 6-bed, 5-bath. I wish I had got that last bathroom, but a 6-bed, 5-bath. And, we used the original footprint that was there. We didn't have to do much with respect to, interior or exterior walls. It was just interior movement of walls and redrawing the footprint. But we get $1,000 a month per room.
Wow.
per
Wow.
room. And that's gross, obviously. So thinking about it from that perspective, $6,000 a month gross. My payment on that, my mortgage payment on that is $1,500. I've got utilities, another 500. So you can see the cash flow is insane. And the occupancy is 99%, right?
Wow.
I can't beat it. And so at the moment right now, that's where my sister and I have been heavily focusing is I do believe that we are coming into an era where the inventory in single family housing in America is going to remain constricted. The differences in how mortgage terms are done here in the United States versus in Canada make all the difference. A lot of people right now who benefited from the cheap money of the COVID era are coming upon that refinance or the end of their 5-year term. And those families that have the 2%, 3%, 1.5% mortgage, when they're faced with a 6.5% rate, will they be able to stay in that home? That's a question.
It's a huge
Probably
difference.
not, right?
Huge issue, right? And I'm sure there's a lot of tension, anxiety, worry. So many things must be going on in the minds of Canadians right now who are coming up upon that term renewal, and they're worried about housing. And what will that do to the housing market in Canada? I'm not sure. Is that going to create a massive dump of inventory onto the market, which would then cause people or the housing values to drop? It's possible. I don't know that anything ever happens at one time. Things usually happen, over time. So I can't say that you guys are going to experience a crash by any means. Do I think a softening is coming around the corner? I think in pricing, possibly. We don't have that here in the United States. We don't have terms on our mortgages in that in that regard. You got a 30-year mortgage, you got that rate for 30 years. And it just so happens that 70% of the homes in the United States either refinanced or purchased in that era of cheap money. So people aren't letting go of that note because they see that note has become the asset. And so I think that inventory is going to continue to remain restricted in the United States. I think that's going to cause even greater appreciation. I think that with mortgage rates eventually coming down when the Fed makes a decision to drop rates and then the treasury yield moves and then we get, the eventual drop in mortgage rates, I do feel that we will still have more appreciation here in the United States to enjoy or, lament, depending on the side of the equation you're on. And so it makes an incredible investment alternative for Canadians to purchase property in the United States because you guys are way more protected than you could be in the way that the banking structures work in Canada. Sorry, that was a mouthful.
No. And Jamil, I love that. And I love that because I was like, hey, your intro, you didn't even say that you have a show, right? I'm so glad you circled back to that. And I'm glad you said, hey guys, reality versus show is a little different.
Yes.
The co-living thing, it's almost like the co-working thing, the working spaces where a lot of people didn't want the big offices and they had those. So that's very interesting, the co-living, and you're just putting up basically partition walls, so you're not doing major structural. What does the financing look like on those? Like, is it still typical financing like on a residential purchase, or like, are you looking at that differently? Or
there's lenders now here in the United States that are looking at the income that's coming from the co-living situation, and they're allowing you to refinance or get funding based off of those projections, which is incredible.
Beautiful.
Great.
And there's, a handful of lenders right now that are participatory, but it's going to increase dramatically over time, right? Because they're going to say, wow, this person's capacity to debt service this loan is far greater than somebody who is, a family who has, two incomes in the home. And there's a possibility that one of those could disappear because of a life circumstance, right? So when you're looking at de-risking a situation, a lender is going to look at this and say, I have way more security in the debt service happening in this specific type of scenario than I'm going to have with just giving this to, Jamil and his wife or whatever, right? So seeing that, I think more lenders are going to jump into the bandwagon. I feel that we are solving an additional problem that we have here in the United States of houselessness, right? Which is because you've got so many capable, wonderful human beings that are just not making enough money. And I grew up like that. I grew up in that circumstance. Every month was a struggle with us. Every month it was hard. And every month I heard my parents going back and forth, stressing about if we were going to make it. And so my sister and I had to start working early. We didn't see a lot of our parents growing up because we were latchkey kids and they were working all the time. If we hadn't owned a home growing up, and if we were renting a home as we were growing up, the likelihood of us experiencing homelessness would have been very, very high. And I don't have a parent with mental illness. I don't have a parent with any addiction issues. And so when you see that, we're talking about hardworking members of society who are trying to contribute and just do their thing and raise their families. I think that having an eye on the real issues here and working within the parameters to help solve the problems is where I think the future of housing is going. And I see tremendous opportunity to benefit from it financially, and also to feel and know that you are a part of a solution that is helping families get back on their feet and figure out, what their next move is.
I love the theory behind it. I love what you're saying. The working class homeless, it is true, right? Like mental health has always been around, addiction has always been around. So I love that you said that, Jamil, is you don't believe it's just those that are the issue that's causing this rampant homelessness. But this is a really cool way of being able to give people that working class, right, a roof over their, an opportunity.
How many of us have a hard time, or I often speak with parents who have kids in college, kids in university, and that's the reason why they're investing, because they just know the reality for their kids to get into a home is next to impossible for them.
Absolutely.
And then if their salary is not high enough, then exactly, now it's like, how can I even afford rent? So finding the solutions where, again, it's a win-win-win for everybody, I think is crucial.
Absolutely. It's funny. I own the home that I'm in here in Los Angeles right now. I'm fortunate. I remember when I rented here and I looked at the rental listing for the property that I lived in 2012. So it's 2024 now. So we're talking 12 years, right? I was paying $1,800 a month in rent in that place. And I thought it was just oppressively high. I had a roommate. So I had somebody renting out the loft on the upstairs floor for $1,000. So my rent was $800 a month. And for Los Angeles, I was doing pretty good. I recently looked at what that place rents for, and it's $5,600 a month.
Wow.
And this wasn't the Taj Mahal. Right? This is when you think about $5,600 a month in housing, right? For a rental, like what could you get for that in Toronto? What would you get for that in Calgary? I mean, you'd get a nice home.
Mm-hmm. You definitely would.
You could rent an entire house, right? I mean,
you could rent an entire house.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So it's just looking at those issues and seeing, as I walk down the streets here, I was with my sister here. She's came to hang out with me for the day yesterday. We were walking the beach this morning, and the beach area here in LA is like the epicenter of one of the homeless encampments, and then downtown is another. They call it Skid Row or whatever, but I don't necessarily enjoy that term. But the people that you see are kind. They wish you good morning. They smile. They're not harassing you. Nobody's like, give me some money. It's not scary.
Right.
It's just regular human beings.
Okay.
And yeah, of course, you see the odd person who's strung out on fentanyl falling over, right? There's that, but that wasn't primarily what I saw. I saw just regular people down on their luck. So, I think that there's an opportunity for Canadians who are investing in long-term growth, long-term cash flow, and are looking to really solidify an opportunity for them to, carve out that stake of land ownership, of home ownership that their children may not be able to, just because of timing of birth,
right?
Enjoy.
Yeah.
Not because of lack of merit, not because of lack of financial acumen. No, timing of birth, because you've got institutional investors buying up more inventory than is, necessary. You've got folks in the investor space who are small portfolio owners like myself who own more homes than necessary. And that's just going to take away the opportunity for like my kids to own. And so I think about my children. I'm like, okay, how do I make sure that my daughters are going to be okay? I'm going to do my part for them. And so I think that there's a tremendous opportunity for people right now. Timing is absolutely crucial. I think waiting is one of the biggest mistakes that anybody could make. Waiting right now is essentially just saying, I don't want to participate.
Well, and I agree with you because we're always about action as well. And especially, Jamil, like you had said earlier, right? So let's say someone lives in a market where they can't afford and their means are not really the best. You spoke earlier about, the high appreciation markets, which will typically have very low cash flow, which is no surprise to anyone. But then the lower, like we just bought something in Ohio a couple months ago. We know it's not going to appreciate very highly, but it cash flows. It cash flows well. So at least these people will still have the opportunity if they pick a market where again they might not skyrocket, but they can still cash flow and then hopefully better their situation overall, right?
Yeah, but this is where I think the scales tip. Wouldn't you love cash flow and appreciation?
Yes, who doesn't?
Okay, well, the $4,000 a month surplus in rent that I'm getting on that pad split deal, that's happening in Phoenix, Arizona. So that's a high appreciation, high demand market, and I have cash flow. So I get to now, I'm gaming the system here because I have a lot of earned income. So for me, I have to buy real estate so I can take advantage of accelerated depreciation so that I can pay less taxes. So owning real estate for me is not an option. I have to do it. Otherwise, I just write the check to the IRS, right? Which nobody likes doing, even though I do it. So looking at it from that perspective, I love asymmetrical returns, and I love being able to hack the system. I would normally, just like you, say, I'm just not going to get both cash flow and appreciation. Historically, it's just not what happens. But I think this new model is changing that significantly. And I think that, looking for those opportunities and seeing that and saying, oh, I got the best of both here. I got cash flow, I've got appreciation, then you're in the money. And so you really get to enjoy both aspects of investing in real estate.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, and that's the powerful thing, right? Investing where you feel that you're making a difference. Because at the end of the day, don't we all want that, right? That's often why we are in business. We want to help other people. We want to help ourselves and our children as we go through it, of course, as well. And investing where returns are best, investing where there's a chance of appreciation as well. And of course, it makes a difference as well, depending on the state, or if you're in Canada, which province you invest in, how landlord friendly it is, right? I mean, I think that's a big part of the issue to start off with as well, right? Where landlords have been forced to increase the rents because of, they couldn't evict somebody who isn't paying, and all those, that domino effect as well. So I guess, so you're a wholesaler, how are you finding all these deals, and how are you able to help my listeners here? I know definitely some listeners will say, okay, this is great.
Hey, go back to the wholesale part.
Right,
I want to hear.
Yeah. So I'm going to take you in a little bit of a dive into the mind of me, right?
Perfect.
I am very efficient, almost like impractical, like almost like, is this like, has he got an issue? Right? Like I wear the same clothes all the time, right? This was really out of character for me to put. I put this on specifically for you guys today, but normally I'd be in my black t-shirt.
I liked it.
Yep. I'd be in a black t-shirt. I don't like to make the decision in the morning. I don't want to expend the energy to do it. So I just know what I'm going to wear every day. That's what it is. I like to make everything that I do count. And so when I was wholesaling in Canada, I would be going direct to seller. My main method of finding opportunities was going into rental listings. I would go into the newspaper, because back then that's where we were. The internet wasn't super like a real thing at the time. I would get the Calgary Herald on the 5th and 6th of the month, Calgary Sun on the 5th and the 6th of the month. I go to the classified sections in the back. Classifieds, you find everything from girls to houses to it was a whole, like, it was a whirlwind back there. It was like entirely like a subworld in the classifieds. It was crazy. But I would call these people and I'd say, it's the 5th of the month. You still have this property for rent. You want to sell it? Because you've been unsuccessful. And then we get into a conversation, right? Well, maybe. Okay, well, what makes maybe yes? Price. Cool. Let's talk about it. What do you want? And so that's how I was, finding my deals back then. So, instinctively, when I came to the United States and I started investing back in real estate, I was just thinking, okay, I'm going to do the same thing, go to the rentals. But then there's this whole world over here of like lead lists, and you can skip trace phone numbers. They tie the hands of investors in Canada so incredibly tight. You guys can't even, without being a real estate agent, you can't even run comps.
No,
because you don't have access to sale data out there, right? Which I think is criminal. Because now I have to rely on this real estate agent to tell me how much a property is worth, and that person's going to give me advice based off of what they want, how quickly they want to sell, how much, you know what I'm saying? Like, so there's yeah, and incentives are not aligned, right? If you don't have access to information, then I'm relying on you, and if you're not a honest person, then I'm in a bad spot. And let me tell you, real estate agents are human beings. And so there's all kinds of them, end of the day, great ones and not so great ones. And when given the opportunity to get one over on somebody, there's a 60% propensity for most people to, if they think they can get away with it, they will. That's just statistics, right? So going back to that, because I'm here in the United States and I'm looking at these lead lists and I'm seeing there's just so much competition. People are getting these lists, they're skip tracing them, getting the phone numbers of the homeowner. We can comp ourselves. And so investors are even more knowledgeable than real estate agents in the United States, more resourceful, all the things. So then I start thinking, okay, well, these agents, they seem to, it's like they're competing against investors. Well, why don't I just not make it a competition? What if I use relationships with real estate agents as my primary method of lead generation?
Great.
And so that's what I did. I started cold calling real estate agents, introducing myself, telling them that I'm looking for the type of property they hate to list. I want the ugliest house. I want the house that when you walk into that listing appointment, you're worried about what you're going to do with your shoes when you leave.
Right. This is that nasty
in
one.
So much feces.
What it smells like, right?
We're walking out of here with.
Yep. We've definitely had our fair share of those for sure.
Exactly. And the funny thing about it is that the agents, the reason why they don't like that listing isn't because they don't like money or they don't want to do the deal. It's just a lot of times those houses aren't even financeable, right? Because they're in such poor condition and this homeowner doesn't have the money or the resources to be able to do the work anyways. And so they're in this like conundrum where they don't have a property that's financeable. They don't have the property owner that has the means to get it to the position of being financeable. So the agent's stuck and they don't have a solution. But then I show up and I'm the cash solution. And I say, look, this has to sell to a cash buyer because of its condition or because the seller needs a sale now, right? They're in a distressed life situation. They need to sell the house right now to get cash right now. So a loan is not possible. Waiting 45 days for somebody to get approved and the appraisals and all the things and then maybe fall out. And no, that's not going to work. We got to build you. It's life or death for us. Like we will take less for speed. We're going to trade equity for convenience. Cool. Sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes there's no equity, but there can be forced appreciation if you can see what the play is, right? That's why knowing comparables and having access to sold data is so important, because when I'm looking at a house in a specific subdivision and I can say, okay, look, I can buy this house, let's call it $100,000, but I can see that right down the street, if this house is fully renovated, I can sell it for $250,000. Great. Now I know that what my anchor is. Now I know what my potential gap is. So if I know that I have a potential gap of 150,000, right? Then that's a viable project for an investor. So I take it to him. I tie up the contract and I say, look, I got it at 100. ARV on this after repair value is 250. I will sell you my contract for $10,000. The investor is like, thank you. I know this deal. It makes sense for me. Great. Happy to take this, happy to do this, and happy to pay you your $10,000. The majority of my deals come from agent relationships. That's how I've grown my business. And even better part about it is that I don't have to pay or labor again for that relationship to bear fruit a second, third, fourth, fifth, 10th time.
Great.
In fact, I've got one agent relationship in Phoenix. Her name is Monique Walker. She's become famous because of how much I talk about her. And like, she's so good though, right? Her and I will do 5 to 8 transactions together a month, every month. We, on average, make about $100,000 a month together each.
Nice.
Right? If I only answered her phone calls, I'm making over $1 million a year. And that's one of thousands of agents that I have relationships with, right? So for people out there who are saying, okay, maybe I want to wholesale, because I actually have people who are in the Astroflipping community, that's the community of people that I coach and mentor and teach how to do this, that live in Edmonton, Winnipeg, Calgary, and they're virtually wholesaling in the United States. They don't have to take title to the house.
Right.
They don't even have to show up to the United States to close the deal. All they have to do is have access to an internet connection and a telephone, negotiate. So learn how to understand the values and understand the numbers and how to talk to people, which is the critical skill, I would say. Build rapport, be friendly, know what you're talking about, just put off a good vibe, just general human things. And with enough phone calls, you find opportunities. And here was the math that made the most sense for me. If I'm going to go direct to seller, the statistics say that I need to talk to 200 homeowners for one deal. Now, that's not just 200 in a day. That's 200 and then, 8 to 13 follow-ups afterwards of expressed interest before one of these is going to translate into a deal. So how many people have that much bandwidth for abuse?
And who would want, even if you do have the bandwidth, who would want to actually sign up?
Yeah,
for
who wants to do that, right? It's
exactly. And I'm sure some people are thinking, oh, 10,000, for example, the example you used, that's a lot of money. And as an investor, I think, well, what's in it for me? Well, it's time, my time back, of course. If the deal makes sense and if I'm able to get that lift, and if the deal makes sense and we use creative financing, if I'm able to still pay back my lender, then to me, if that's part of the calculations and I'm able to get an extra deal under contract, then to me, that's a win-win. Why would I not want to do that?
I agree.
Yeah.
Sure. But look at it from this perspective. Okay. So we know that that's the metric to do that. And some people will say, I will. Some people will say, I won't. The investors who buy from me and pay me the 10 grand, they're like, you'll never catch me dead sitting in a kitchen with a headset on, doing what I'm doing. Like this is what I would look like if I'm going to be cold calling people, right? In fact, when you and I are done this podcast today, I'm going to get on a training where I do it for 2 hours, just live for people to hear. And I have fun with it and I joke around. But let's just say instead of calling homeowners, I'm calling real estate agents. And let's just say that each of those real estate agents are themselves calling homeowners for potential listing opportunities, because that's what an agent should be doing to find deals, right? How does an agent find listings? They prospect. Mm-hmm. That's how they do it. So if I commit to calling 50 real estate agents every day, who are each potentially talking to 50 homeowners a day for their business, how many more homeowners am I effectively reaching? By 50 calls, it's approximately 2,500 homeowners in a day.
Wow.
Using that effect, right?
Yeah.
So that's where the efficiency of the way my brain works comes in, because I looked at it and I was like, man, I'm too lazy to do this the hard way. Yeah, so I started building the relationships with agents, and it skyrocketed, and has turned into this. And people say, well, that's gonna have to have a saturation point. I don't see it, because not only do I have 118 franchises operating around the country, I've trained thousands of people to do what I do, and there's always deals. There's always deals. I think people who have the idea that, oh, things are oversaturated, oh, I missed my chance, those are subconscious excuses to keep you from doing hard things.
Excuses, right?
Well, you said earlier, Jamil, it's always a good time to buy. There's so much money. There's so many deals out there. I love, Mel and I, same thing. We don't do wholesaling, but it's the same strategy for our seller financing deals. We find these investor-focused agents. They find us deals where we underwrite them. No bank would qualify them. So if they have equity, we negotiate them to hold financing for us. We know what the future value is, the ARV. We get in, we do the work, we put tenants in, we refinance it or sell it. So I love how our strategies are similar. It's just, we obviously invest in real estate a little differently, but same difference, right? You're using investor-focused people to go out there, be boots on the ground, and do the work for you, so you can look at multiple deals instead of you calling.
Well, and you mentioned a few times relationships.
Yes.
And that's huge. And I think people undervalue the importance of that once you have those good connections, and to continue to nourish them, because again, they can together, you could collaboratively continue to both grow.
Absolutely.
Doing that over and over again, and those people know people, and those people know people, and you're talking to one, but just like you said, it's like this domino that affects.
That lady, I forget her name now, in Arizona, like she's calling you first every single time, because
every day. every day. And you know, and her and I don't even exchange pleasantries anymore. Right? It's so business. Like every day I get, you know, a half a dozen text messages from her, and all it is an address and a question mark. And then I respond with numbers. That's what I would buy it for. There's no good morning, there's no good night, there's no have a good day, no thank you, no please. There's address, question mark, number. Now that's a relationship I like, right? Because like we know what we want. She wants a buy number from me. I want the opportunity, and we just go at it. Her and I will get together once a year, typically at our Christmas party, and hug each other and say, thank you for all the great business, and you're amazing, and that's it. And then we go our separate ways, you know? So it's not like I'm having to juggle like a million friendships out there. That's not how it is, right? I'm really just, because when you do business in a way that you can be relied on and you're transparent and honest, I think that you will be able to earn those relationships that will turn into repeat customers. And I know for a fact that because of the way that you guys operate, and even that's just how you explained what you do, that you have relationships like that. You must have relationships like that. And because of that, you've been able to enjoy a life of full-time real estate investing, and you guys have, you know, all the things that you guys are doing right now as a result of not only your character, your capacity to be transparent and perform, but now you guys are helping other people, building a community behind it as well, which, you know, I think that it's fun to make money, but it's fun to watch other people make money.
It's a whole other bucket.
Right? Yeah.
Oh gosh, we hang out way too much. But yeah, no, it's a whole other bucket. I agree with you. Money is fun and trips are fun, but like, and I'm sure you're the same way in your program, right? With the Astro and us and our Action family. Like when someone tells you, I've retired my mom, I quit my job, I've gone to Disney for the first time, like, oh, I get goosebumps even just saying it. But like, it's a whole other level. I agree with you, Jamil.
It is. And you get, you know, it's like that emotional income, right? At some point, you know, Cody Sanchez, she's an incredible personality, venture capitalist, private equity manager, YouTuber, so many things. She's really cool. I was listening to her in a video the other day, and she said, after $500,000 a year, it all blends together, right? Because after $500K a year, what more are you doing, right? You make $1 million between $500K to $1 million a year. How much more are you actually doing? It's not that much, right? How much better of a lifestyle? Like, okay, you drive a Bentley instead of you know, an S-Class. I mean, if you've been in either of them, they're comparable. Some might even say the S-Class is better, right? And so okay, so at that level, there's no more fulfillment that fills your cup beyond, you know, $500,000 when it comes to making money. And so knowing that can't be the bucket that you're still trying to fill all the time, because there'll never be enough. So the only bucket then that you can fill is the one where you're filling other people's buckets, right?
And then endless, right?
Yeah, I call it the wheel, right? It's like all these different aspects in life that are important to you, right? So you have kids, we have kids. So, you know, the kids bucket, spending time with the children and being there for them, just being present for them. And then us as a couple having that bucket and being able to do the things we enjoy, and then giving back to our community, being able to pass this forward as well, right? Like, again, it's all these different buckets that gives you joy, because sitting at a beach all day long sounds amazing, but after
it's boring too. I mean,
you know, and I love it, but I love it for a couple of weeks, and after a while, I'm like, I need purpose, I need fulfillment, I need to feel driven, and being able to pass that forward as well is fantastic.
Absolutely. And you know, I think, you know, at the end of the day, you can't get there until you satisfy the other requirements of life, though, right? Nobody can think about helping, you know, truly helping, watching and being joyful at watching somebody else earn and do well and, like, you know, win if they're not winning. Like, let's just be human about it. Let's think about it. I can't watch you eat this beautiful meal while I'm sitting here having a Lunchables and be like, your filet mignon looks so amazing. Oh my God, I just love what you're eating. And I'm sitting here eating my Ritz cracker, you know, like, it's just like, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's just not how we're designed. You know, we haven't been wired like that. They say when you're on an airplane, if it's about to go down, put your own oxygen mask on first before you even go after and help your child. And so really taking care of yourself is where it starts, right? You got to take care of yourself. And if you're in a situation right now where you're not making enough money, if you're not paying attention, or if you've just been ducking your head in the sand about retirement, it's going to come. It's going to come. And so if you're not thinking about it, when it hits you, what are you going to do?
I agree. And that's the thing where excuses, we talked a bit about excuses today. Oh, that's an excuse. Well, exactly, right? It's a choice. It's a choice. And there's no such thing as overnight success. We're far from it. I'm sure you are as well, right? You had to put in the hours to get to where you are today. And that's going to be the case for everybody as well. But, you know, if you decide that it's important to you and you decide to commit to yourself and to your goals, so that way you can help yourself first and then you can help your loved ones. It's definitely doable. Before coming on the show, I know we had a brief conversation because I'm excited. I want to go check out some of your deals. Yeah. So what I'm going to do as well for all our listeners, I'm going to put a link below in the description where you'll be able to go and check out as well some of Jamil's deals as well, because I know you have some great opportunities and some great markets. And appreciation and cash flow.
And, you know, I would love one day if we could all like have a little field trip. You know, maybe there's a time in the future. God knows, right? Who knows what'll happen? But you know, a few investors get together, come out, and actually physically see what's happening. You know, it is an incredible opportunity here. There is just ample cash flow to be made. Real estate's my favorite investment because it's tangible. You're on the title. You know, you can't, you know, I could disappear. I could get hit by a truck tomorrow, but you'll always own the house. Right. And that's, you know, to me, 'cause I've been in investments where I wasn't in that situation and I've lost money, right? I've made money and I've lost money. And I know the types of things that I'm no longer going to invest in. Look, nothing against the stock market, but I can't tell you how many times it has just gone the opposite for me in that world. You know, like I might be the guy who drives companies to zero because it feels like when I invest in them, they like the stock price goes from wherever it was to nothing. Yeah. You know, so short sellers pay attention to where I'm. But it's you know, so I don't have confidence in the stock market any longer. I don't have confidence in, you know, investing in like ideas and any longer because you know, ideas are a dime a dozen. Give me a house. Yeah.
Well, it's been proven, right? Cash flow. It's been proven for decades and decades that it goes up in value over time.
It's not going anywhere.
It's not a zigzag, right? So.
And we are in to go. Let's line it up perfectly. Whenever the Toronto Blue Jays are playing, is it the Arizona Diamondbacks or Razorbacks?
Yeah, the Diamondbacks. Yeah.
We'll plan it. We'll go see the Jays and we'll go walk some properties with you at the same time.
Awesome. That sounds great.
Awesome, Jamil. Thank you so much for being on our show.
Happy to be here.
We love having you here and sharing so many great insights with our listeners.
Yeah, appreciate having you on.
Thank you guys for having me.
Sounds like we'll be going on a road trip, eh, Dave?
Arizona, we're gonna hockey and baseball. No, but it'd be interesting to see how he's doing those new co-living. That's a really cool investment strategy.
Yeah, I love finding a lot of deals. I can't wait to tap into some of his deals as well. And if you're interested in finding out more deals as well, just check out the description. There's a link there for you where you'll be able to check it out. And if you like this kind of deal, make sure to check out this next video. I'm Mel.
I'm Dave.
And we'll see you in the next one.